Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Dave Yates.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hey, Dave. I'm glad to have you in the building today on the couch.
Ready to bust some blocks.
Let's bust a block. Let's bust a block about what is considered a modern American classic, Robert Altman's MASH.
Ugh.
The film that spawned 4 different TV series.
Yeah.
Was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay. Is featured in the Library of Congress as a culturally relevant film, and you don't like it.
I hate it.
You hate it.
I hate it.
That's why you're here.
I mean, I can see on paper why it's good, okay? I can see on paper why it's good. But like literally it's billed as a black comedy. And like dark humor, because
Right, because it's about war and at a hospital and death.
Yeah. And MASH is what Mobile Army Surgery
Hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the opening title of the movie, and they have lyrics in the movie because you got to kind of cross-reference the show too,
Right.
Because if you watch just the show, it's like the theme song is just the do 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 do, but the opening of the movie is "Suicide is Painless."
Yeah, which is sung midway through the movie also.
Oh yeah, when they're trying to help their buddy commit suicide.
Right.
And then what saves the day is the main character, Hawkeye, convinces the female lieutenant to sleep with his passed out friend.
Right, and he's like, listen, he's got a big dick. You're going to be okay.
Yeah, look under the sheet. And she's like, I don't know, Hawkeye. He's like, just trust me. And then he just leaves. And she's like, well.
And then she opens the sheet and she's like, "Oh wow, I have to raise the sheet over my whole head because of how big his dick is."
Yo, and the thing is, it's not slapsticky at all, which I guess I get because it's pretty melancholy undertones through the whole movie, but it's also like it's weird. It's just a weird movie, like. Contextually too, it's like the Korean War. Yes, I get it. They're trying to speak out against war,
right,
by being these people who are just trying to live normal lives and be drunk all the time. It's a classic 70s,
right,
where the characters' nicknames are like the Hot Lips,
right, Painless Pole.
Yep.
It's all coming at the tail end of counterculture-y stuff.
Yes.
And really, the film itself,
1970,
and it's set during the Korean War, but it's made very clearly as a response to Vietnam.
Yes.
I mean, to the point where everybody's like, this is the legacy of this movie.
Yeah, 100%. Like I get it, and there's some wonderful actors, and I'm not even saying that the actors that are in the movie don't play their parts well. It's chunky. The scenes kind of loosely go together, but the only through line is I guess they don't want to be there, so they're acting out against being there. Like when certain characters who play more of the straight man try to deliver consequences like in a military type vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, don't tell me that bullshit.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't make it good.
Right. It's interesting to me that this film is labeled as a satire.
Yeah.
And this is held up as like a satire paragon because it doesn't really feel like a satire to me.
No, it's just like, it almost feels like here's what really happens during wartime, which I look, I'm not a person that is like, this is disrespecting the troops, but it's like a period piece, but it's also like, yeah, all those people that went over there and died and stuff. Well, this is kind of what really happens.
Right.
You know?
They're dying because the doctors are drunk.
Yeah, exactly. And even in the opening title credits, what we were talking about earlier, they drop a dude. Yeah, like they're carrying a guy off on a stretcher out of a helicopter, and they drop him.
Yeah.
I can see why it's funny, but it's not like ha funny. It's like, oh,
It's clever funny.
Yeah, and I don't.
It's the perfect kind of funny for intellectuals.
I guess I'm not an intellectual. I mean,
the thing I think that tips that off, not that you're not an intellectual, the thing that this film is for intellectuals. I think that the fact that it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which is like the highest of high, like, the most highfalutin film place to be. This won the best award there. And yet it just
all right. Now the question is, what was it competing against?
Oh, I could pull that up. Let's take a look. By the way, this movie is it was nominated for a whole bunch of stuff, and it didn't win. And it lost to another war movie, like an out-and-out war movie. It lost to Patton.
Okay,
but as far as the other movies in competition, I mean, it's movies that there's no movies that you probably will have ever heard of. The Alienist by Nelson Pereira dos Santos. The Buttercup Chain by Robert Ellis Miller. That classic. Don Segundo Sombra by Manuel Anton. The Dreamer by Dan Wollman. Elise or Real Life by Michael Drach. I mean, there's nothing here that is a movie that's made by even a director I've heard of, except for this guy, Tell Me That You Love Me, Junie Moon, by Otto Preminger, who's a director who I've at least heard of.
Yeah, I just don't get why people have labeled this as like classic. Like, there are people out there, and if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but this movie holds a special place in people's hearts from either back when they saw it when it originally came out, or maybe they were just late night people, and because MASH was always on late night. That was the always thing you could count on. If you're drunk and high at 3 a.m, and you only had regular ass TV, MASH the TV show was always on. But to create I still, that's the thing, and I would only watch MASH the TV show, and wouldn't be able to tell you any scenes from it when I was severely fucked up. But like, how an entire, you said 4 spinoffs was created.
Yeah, we have of course, the original MASH television series. We have hold on, the MASHverse. Oh my God.
Ugh.
It's an American media franchise. This is crazy. Yeah, we have Trapper John MD, featuring the character of Trapper John, set 28 years after the events of the film and television series. We have After MASH, which was a successor to the original MASH television series.
Jesus.
And Walter, which was the pilot for a TV series that was not picked up.
Yeah, I talk about getting all the... What's up, kitty cat?
Hey, Edgar's come to, because he knows Edgar supports the troops, and he's very upset that we're talking shit about a movie about the troops.
Well, if anything, Edgar should be mad if he supports the troops, because I could see how people could be like, well, that's, because people get real angry. But there's also positions in the military that, like, they weren't, there are people in the military that were like computer scientists and things like that, so I get it, but they were like, there was the whole billing. It's like, we're so close to the front lines and we still don't give a shit.
Right. 3 miles from the front lines.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something.
Okay.
So what is the context in which you have watched this movie? Because I seem to remember when we talked about that sort of has a play into why you hate it so much.
Yeah. So like, the reason I hate this movie, and I keep looking at the camera because I forget that there's also a camera in the room, and I stare off into the distance when I'm thinking, so forgive me.
That's fine.
The first introduction to this movie, I was dating a girl when I lived back in Illinois, and she came over to like Netflix and chill, like the kids say, and she's like, MASH is one of my favorite movies. And I'm like, I've never seen MASH. She's like, oh, it's a classic. It's so funny. You're a comedian. You'll enjoy this. And she turns it on, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? 10-15 minutes in, I'm like, screw this. And we started hooking up. And it didn't stop until
you get to the chill part of Netflix and chill.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like but who puts on MASH as the background to like hooking up?
And then when did it stop?
Oh, it's the movie ended with the culmination of me getting head from said kind female.
Right.
Like, this is not about, like, trust me, the hookup was fine, but like, I couldn't get into the hookup because like MASH was playing in the background, you know, like, and at the title, "Suicide is Painless," I'm literally being filleted as the fucking "Suicide is Painless" ending credits is playing.
And I'm like, oh, fuck, I should have gone with that instead.
What?
Oh, I should have just put a gun in my mouth instead of putting my dick in someone else's mouth.
So when I rewatched the movie, I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, maybe I just didn't, because obviously I wasn't paying attention to the movie.
Right.
I was like, maybe I should watch this with an open mind. And I'm like, nope, still stands as the worst background to hook up I have ever had. Like, you could have played bluegrass mountain music, like ding 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 ding, and would have been better than that.
You could have hooked up to Deliverance and everything would have been better than that.
She knew though, like, and she knew the movie. She said this. You'll like this. It's one of my favorite movies. And she wasn't like 50 years old either. Like, if anything, like, I'm 33, so she was maybe like 2 years younger than me at the time, and this has got to be like 6 years ago now when this happened. So this is not like a, you know, like, shout out to older women who this my favorite movie, but like, her mom must have showed her this movie.
Must have.
Or someone in the family. Like, I think that's what happens with some movies, is like, there's more of a sentimentality towards the time period or the person that showed you the movie, and then it logs in your brain as like a favorite movie of yours, and then you go off into the world and tell people about this movie, and then they watch it, and you're like, that person, I'm never taking advice.
It's like, yeah, well, that's the thing. This feels like, I think there's several things that sort of tip me off to why this movie should not be as lauded as it is. But part of it is, when people talk about the 70s being sort of this amazing time for movies, which everybody really, I feel like, you know, a ton of people are like, oh, The Godfather and The Deer Hunter and all of these other great movies that came out in the 70s that are escaping me right now.
They hold up.
Right.
Like, even Cheech and Chong still holds up.
Right.
Like, and so it's not like I'm shitting on the time period of movies.
It's this movie, though. Nobody talks about MASH. I've heard so many people talk about MASH, the television series. My grandparents talked about it.
Yes.
My on all sides of my family, the people talked about MASH. My uncle was like, you should watch MASH. It's so funny. I'm pretty sure my dad likes MASH. My dad was in the military, so it makes sense. But this movie is not the thing that people talk about.
No, and furthermore, though, I have heard that people who are MASH television aficionados say that the show is better than the movie,
which I would buy.
Yes, I guess it would make more sense. But how do you go on for 7 seasons? Like
11 seasons.
I thought it was Jesus.
No,
Christ.
They did 11 seasons of MASH, dude. 11 seasons, switching out characters. You lost Trapper John. You lost Hot Lips Houlihan at one point.
I mean, come on, Hot Lips Houlihan. It's still a hilarious character name,
right?
Hot Lips Houlihan. But like, even from an actress's point of view, it's like, so you get this part, and it's very exciting to get a part in anything,
right?
But then you're like going in for more work. It's like, yeah, you might know me from my work as Hot Lips Houlihan.
You know what's wild is she was the only person who got nominated for an acting award for this movie. She got nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Hot Lips Houlihan. Can you imagine the Academy Awards that year? I'm just gonna hold on. Let's just read the other nominees because I know it lost to Patton.
They well, if you go to watch this movie and you read the short bio before you watch the movie, it just talks about like how Hawkeye and his buddy throw these martini parties.
Right.
And have hijinks when, I mean, they're constantly drinking, but there's no like martini parties. Like I guess a pivotal scene in the movie is when he meets his buddy, and his name escapes me right now. And he's like, "Yeah, here's a martini. It's extra dry. You're gonna like it, but we don't have any olives. Like, we're in the Korean War. What do you expect?" And this guy pulls a big jar of
Trapper
olives.
John.
Yeah.
It's Trapper John.
Trapper John pulls out
a jar of olives.
And everybody shits themselves like, oh shit, Trapper John and his mustache are going to be the king of this place.
Right, exactly. And then this movie, it just feels very dissonant. The film is structured in this episodic manner, which is why I think it makes more sense for it to be TV. You don't really spend a whole lot of time getting to know any of the characters on a level that makes you feel sympathetic for them, or like the only reason you like them is because you'd want to hang out with them.
Yeah, that's about it. And like the character of Radar, which I know Radar had a larger role in the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
His whole point in the movie, it's like he just translates for the lieutenant colonel,
and he's just there to talk over him the whole time.
Yeah, but the lieutenant colonel, you can understand him clear as day,
right?
And I guess that's the funny part. It's like he doesn't really need a translator. I don't know, but some of the scenes in the movie are insane. Like where Robert Duvall's character, the religious guy, is hooking up with. Is it Hot Lips Houlihan?
That's Hot Lips.
So they're hooking up.
That's where Hot Lips comes from.
Yeah. They're hooking up, and then someone puts a microphone in the tent.
Yep.
And then they all gather around to listen to them fuck.
And then they're like, "Oh, this is getting good," because she's saying something, my hot lips, and her voice gets real deep.
Yeah.
And it's real, just like, oh, she's really coming to Jesus in this moment,
literally.
And and then they broadcast it to the whole camp. They don't treat a lot of people well in this movie.
No.
It's like they hate authority.
Yes.
They don't treat women particularly well. They're surprisingly cool with race.
Yeah.
Which is pretty progressive for the 70s.
Yes. But dude's name was Spear Chucker.
And that's even the thing where they're like, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to call you that." Apparently, there's a part where Robert Altman was doing an interview, and he said that the novel was way more racist than the movie was.
Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, he's like, I really had to tone down the racism in the movie. The most we could do is just spear chucker, I guess.
Yeah, and he's just seemed completely cool with it. And then they said the reason his name was Spear Chucker was because he used to throw javelin in school.
That's definitely a Robert Altman edition.
Yeah.
I guarantee that is not why.
That's not why they called him that.
No.
Even if he did throw javelin in school. And the dude wasn't built for javelin throwing. He was a fucking football player. Which, again, here goes to the culmination of this entire movie is a intramural football game with thousands of dollars on the line, and someone drugs someone. I mean, it's I get the hijinks.
But that's where the movie really starts to fall apart too, is like at that point Hot Lips goes from being a hyper competent, like by the book person
to a cheerleader
who also doesn't understand how football works.
It's like she almost would be like in the vein of like, oh, you scored a 3-point shot, or like just like cross referencing sports because she doesn't know.
Oh, you got a home run.
Yeah, and I guess what does that say about like character in general? It's just like because she got like punked so many times throughout the movie that she's just like a dumb broad now.
Oh yeah,
like that's.
Well, I mean, did she over the course of being humiliated? Did she just like pound her head against the wall and lose brain cells?
Just give in. But like, I guess this is what and look. I'm not saying like I'm not one of those people like, oh, this is despicable, the treatment of women and stuff like that. Like the movies of the times were in that way, and the characters portrayed kind of what the whole wackadoo thing. Like the first 10 minutes of the movie, dude literally has a creepy stare down with is it Hot Lips right off the? No.
No, it's Dish. It's the lady.
It was the
lady who sucks the dead man's dick later on.
Yeah.
Wacky comedy.
See, I'm enjoying
wacky hijinks.
I'm enjoying shitting on this movie more than I enjoyed watching it.
I'm in the same boat, dude.
Like-
I fell asleep during this movie, and I went back and rewatched the like 10 or so minutes that I nodded off during to be like, well, maybe I missed something. Maybe there's like a crucial moment that I didn't like that will be explained here. And I watched it, and it was just guys talking about, I truly don't even remember what, while like getting drunk by a downed helicopter.
Yeah, that was it. And then the ending of the movie is like they announce everybody's like actor's name
Right.
instead of rolling credits. Really, yeah. The movie could have ended at like an hour 15.
Yeah.
And then it goes on for an hour and 55 minutes. Like that, like the football scene, it just because it kind of seems very Caddyshacky in the way like the football game goes down.
Right.
Like-
oh, well, that's the other thing too, is like this movie is full of like the music and there's so many fucking sound effects in this movie.
Yeah.
That just makes it feel like you're supposed to laugh at the sound effect because there's no actual joke.
Yeah, like woo, 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 woo.
Yep.
It's like
the fact that Hawkeye is just like whistling like R2D2 the entire time.
Yeah,
and
from the
there's
get-go.
literal anytime they're in Japan, every line that somebody says is punctuated by a gong. It's weird.
Or the music that plays every
during the
once in a
football
while.
game too. Yeah.
But the one song, isn't it Japanese music? Because it's time
Yeet.
for us to say sayonara.
Right. There's a lot of movie they pull from Radio Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I guess they're close. They're in Korea.
yeah. But that's not
I mean, Korea and Tokyo
cat
aren't
in
that
front
far
of the
apart.
camera.
Hey, Edgar, can you not? Can you move, please? Oh, that didn't work at all. Now he's just terrified of you. Well, maybe he's
Wow.
just going to stay right there. He's just
Stand guard, cat.
he knows that he's met his he's met his match.
Well, look, I know people want to watch this happening, but the cat would probably be more interesting than MASH.
Yeah,
The
this
cat-
cat is definitely. I would rather take care of this cat than watch MASH ever again.
And that's the thing. So like I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt because it was just background to a hookup that I had 6 years ago.
Right.
And then I give it the benefit of the doubt and I watched it via my Amazon Fire Stick, which I like because it has that X-ray feature where if you pause it, it'll tell you who all the actors are in the movie. So, and some of the character names aren't really well emphasized in the beginning, so you feel kind of lost, like who's who, like Hawkeye, but other than that, it's real hard to pick up, and like
Right.
Radar's name's very defined. So like when I watch movies like this, I have to pause. And in the X-ray feature on Amazon, it allows me to go, okay, that's Robert Duvall's character. That's
Yeah, that's the thing with the here's I was trying to think if there's anything that really could make this movie better, and I feel like
a plot.
well, it's too discordant. There's too much going on. And I know Robert Altman is this filmmaker who likes to do these big ensemble pieces where he's got a lot of different storylines going on at once, but the only other movie that I've seen by Altman is The Player.
Okay.
Are you familiar with The Player
I've
at
not
all?
seen The Player.
Okay, so The Player, for those of you who don't know, including Dave, is a movie it's a Hollywood satire about a film executive who is basically like this writer's trying to pitch him on a movie, so he murders the writer, and the rest of the movie is him like trying to. The people like the script and they just think he wrote it, and also he's trying to escape the cops. So it's one like singular plot, and it actually like the satire makes sense.
Okay.
Because it's satirizing Hollywood, Hollywood.
But was there
types.
as much going on in The Player as there was in MASH?
That's exactly my point. Is it's singular and there's not as much going on. There's too much going on in MASH. If they had chopped out even just one separate storyline and focused more somewhere else and actually built out a story instead of just like dipping in for a second then dipping back out, then this would have been a million times better.
But none of the storylines come to fruition, really.
Exactly.
Like it's just like they touch on these things, and I guess that's probably why it made for a better TV show, because if you isolate each of the incidents, like if there was a whole, like it came out of nowhere when the other branch of the military challenges the MASH squad
Right.
to a football game, but they aren't seen. Like the fact that anybody else exists is only done via telephone. And in that moment when he visits the MASH camp and it's like,
Right.
yeah, we're going to play some football for a lot of money.
Right.
They're
I didn't even understand at first why they went to Japan.
Yeah, I don't.
And and it took me a second watch to really understand this part, which is, again, this is their joke, is them speaking in Japanese dubbed over their English words.
Yeah.
And then the guy who's driving them around in the golf carts just being like, the fucking army, I hate the fucking army.
Yeah.
But there's a whole section where they're in Japan and it actually has like dramatic stakes because they're dealing with somebody who's very different from who they deal with on the base. And they also have to take care of not only like a congressman's son who they're like, yeah, we can fucking do this, we're smart. But they also have to deal with a whore's baby at a combination whorehouse and pediatric hospital.
Well,
great business plan.
How about the kid who did all the amphetamines?
Oh
yeah. Like the one doctor is like, his heart's racing and he hasn't slept, but we think he might have got into some amphetamines in one of the army tents, and the Hawkeye's like, oh, like we can take him. Like,
yeah, we got him. We're gonna be fine. If they had leaned into any of that stuff and gotten rid of the entire football scene for like the extra 20 minutes that would have provided the movie.
Oh yeah.
So much more.
It would have been just better in general. Like if they're trying to figure out a way not to get busted because this kid ate the amphetamines on their base, because they were just throwing martini parties. There wasn't really that. There was a lot of partying, but there weren't like martini parties in the traditional sense.
Right.
Like it was just everybody's just drinking all the time, which it's the 70s. I get it, but
that's how it goes.
Yeah, the hijinks are just. It's just not funny. Like I there was a couple lines where I chuckled, like where I.
Which ones do you remember?
When the guy cheats on his wife or whatever, but like he unfolds the picture wallet. It's the guy that tries to commit suicide that gets blown by Dish.
And they're like, I got three girls back home.
He's like, I'm engaged to three women back home.
That's a good line.
It was funny. I laughed at that line.
Right.
But then, he's like, is that enough to commit suicide?
It's not. Also, because how does he? That's so wacky to me that like somebody with any kind of medical knowledge immediately thinks, as soon as they think, oh, I can't get my dick hard, I must be gay.
Yeah,
Look, I know you're a dentist, and I know that's not your expertise, but how fucking dumb do you have to be?
Yeah. It's like it's almost like, and he describes it in such a way like being out here in Korea, I must have drank something in the water,
right?
And I've caught the homosexual bug. That's
I'm a fairy. It's my latent homosexuality.
I haven't heard the term fairy in a long time, probably since I played grade school sports.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty archaic.
It's not like I don't watch MASH the movie with the lens of 2019. Like I don't watch it and be like, oh, right. I can't believe that,
yeah, I can totally believe it. I'm with you.
Yeah, I can't believe they did that to Hot Lips where she's showering in the tent and then they raise the tent and she's naked and everybody's just chilling with drinks and making fun of her.
Right.
I mean,
that scene, even the other women in the camp were like, oh yeah, fuck this lady.
Yeah,
let's get you involved.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, if anything, they were pranking her and treating her like everybody else.
Right. That's feminism. We're going to treat her as an equal.
Yeah, by exposing her naked body,
right,
and her sex sounds,
right,
which will ultimately turn her into a cheerleader.
That's feminism. Let's make women dumber by making them showing off their bodies and making people hear their sex noises. That's equality.
Yes, and then ultimately they'll know their role as a cheerleader for a intramural football game.
Of course.
Where the stakes are high.
Let me ask you one final question. So this movie is obviously, it spawned a giant television enterprise. Do you have any desire to watch any of those 4 spinoffs?
Absolutely
after
not.
this?
Absolutely not.
Me either.
Absolutely not. Like I would watch. The only thing I would do just for brain's sake is I would watch a few MASH TV episodes just to see how it translated from the movie to television, just for my own like, okay, how did this run for 11 seasons? So I would investigate just because of my fascination with how it became popular. But other than that, like, who wanted that? It's talk about squeezing the most juice out of the lemon possible.
They just took this lemon and curb stomped it.
Yeah, curb stomped it into a colander and collected all of it and then said, you know what, we're going to use the rind, we're going to use the seeds,
We're going to use the zest.
And people say Hollywood's running out of ideas now. Like, to take something like that and turn it into 4 movies and 11 seasons of television, I mean, that's the true triumph.
Right.
It's not the content of the film. It's how they milked all that money out of just this one idea.
That's insane.
That's
Big Bang Theory just ran for 11 seasons also, right?
Yeah, and then they tried to do Young Sheldon. Is that still going?
You know what? I'm going to look right now because I think it is. I think Young Sheldon is still a show.
Jeez.
Hold on. Young Sheldon. Wikipedia doesn't even want me to look it up. Young Sheldon, 2 seasons. It is, it has been renewed for a 3rd and 4th season.
Gotta love them.
Set to premiere September 26th, 2019.
There we go. So, hey, Big Bang's going for MASH.
Big Bang's going for MASH. Next, we're going to see
Big Bang the movie?
Big Bang the movie, and then we're going to see the inside of the comic book shop, and then we're going to see Old Sheldon.
Old Sheldon. Yeah.
Old Sheldon and Young Sheldon.
Old Sheldon's going to be in like a Professor X kind of role where he's just in a wheelchair.
It turns out that Big Bang Theory actually has just been a prequel to X-Men this entire time. I don't know if you guys knew that, but Kaylee Cuoco is Magneto. Dave, I love you, and I'm glad that we were able to bond over this movie being mediocre.
Yeah.
And not deserving of the recognition.
Not at all. Literally would watch Cheech and Chong.
Any Cheech and Chong?
Any Cheech and Chong. Up in Smoke. The whole catalog of Cheech and Chong before I would watch this hunk of shit again. And even like you would think, like, what would Cheech and Chong be good background for a hookup? Yeah, a lot better than this.
Oh, yeah.
A lot better than this.
For sure.
A lot better.
Hey, listen, it's not as far as like old movies that don't hold up to the hype go, this isn't quite as bad as Lawrence of Arabia for me, but it's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
This is it's fine. Lawrence of Arabia still is the pinnacle of garbage for me and overhyped, but this is like, all right, I got through it. I can see what it did.
Honestly, the only way making this movie tolerable is if you're getting oral pleasure from your significant other at the time.
I gotta try that out. Dave, what a podcast, buddy. Thanks for coming on. Where can the listeners find you if they wanna talk shit or agree with you?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Yates Comedy, Yates Comedy, and I welcome all of your hate because I will defend my position and my 6-year-old erection.
As you should. Wait, 6-year-old erection?
6 years.
6 years previous erection.
No, I meant the size.
Oh,
I have
okay.
a tiny penis, so if you're going to be mean to me, just remember that.
Okay, well, there you go. That's brave. Brave Dave. Brave Dave Yates.
Doing what MASH couldn't.
You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. If you're in the UK, I'm going to be in Scotland for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival doing an hour every night from August 1st through 25th. Details are on my website. And if you like the podcast, leave a rating, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend, join the Facebook group, all that good stuff. Dave, thanks again, buddy.
Take care, everybody.
This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.